When did you enter the Amberverse, like, proper? Like, what drew you in?
I started as I would like to think most people started, which was I was fresh out of college, 2015. I was in a completely new city. I was alone, and I was in the process of trying to figure out how to better myself as a person. And so I came upon this recommended creator in 2015 YouTube time of this 400-pound woman at the time who was documenting her weight loss. And you know, I jived with it. It was I think it was during Destiny, but it was early.
What was the appeal overall? Was it just that camaraderie that you were stating?
I think so. I think it did to me give off that initial like young adults just trying to have a fun time out in the world. And I definitely think I related to the probably to the loneliness that she was feeling at that time because it really was just like Destiny and Destiny's friends.
What occurred for you to transition from being a viewer with positive intentions and hope for their channel and themselves to hate watching? Like, was it a slow process? Was it one thing in particular? Like, what?
Initially, it was at fault of the YouTube algorithm because I remember watching like Destiny and Amber um, videos that were like compilations of them being a couple, and those would be recommended to me. Then I guess it started recommending other people that would put compilations together. And I think YouTube algorithm at that point in time functioned with Amberlynn and compilation and just recommended anything that fell under that umbrella. Um, so I did start watching more Hate Watchers. And I think that was the one where when I finally started going back and like re-catching up to actual Amberlynn videos, I definitely came in with a different view, for sure.
Because they always say that people take what she says and spins it incorrectly, or that they're not really seeing what they're seeing with their eyes or thinking with their own brains. They're just kind of latching on to like the more hater mindset. Do you feel like re-looking, you kind of had like the rose-colored glasses kind of removed, double checking it again, or?
I legitimately, I think I watched it as like something to wash over me and something I wanted to see. So I guess, yeah, rose colored glasses. I saw what I wanted to see. And then I had finally reached a point within my life and my career where I was watching more as I don't need this for myself. I just do this I just watch for entertainment. Which then I guess made me watch it more closely.
Just because it's healthy doesn't mean that you need a huge portion. I mean, it's not really healthy, like cream cheese and bacon.
Yeah, I don't think I truly fell off the Amberlynn Reid wagon until at least a year into Bex when I just the cycle was just so much clearer then because it wasn't as diffused with all of the hapdashery that was going on with Destiny, and it was a lot more sitting and a lot more not doing. And it, I think, unfortunately for her, brought a lot more attention to the Amber cycle than it would have during the Destiny time period. Because at the very least, she did go out with people that weren't just Destiny. She did other things, like, you know, they made their own choices. I'm incredibly, the whole animal caretaker situation, I know Destiny has already spoken on, which I do appreciate, but like, holy hell, as a fellow pet owner, that was awful to watch. Um, but I think with Bex, it was way too obvious at that point.
Do you think it was that being more aware of what was going to occur and occur again, and just the cyclical nature of that. When you talked about stepping back from like you maybe not needing it as like a background noise, and then you just taking it on as like a more critical lens of someone that is within our general age range, but outside of that, no other like immediate connective sympathetic uh relatability given, you know, the everything.
Yeah, I mean, like my life at that point in time, I was living by myself. I had my own job that I worked, 12 to 13 hours every day, 6 days a week on. I was running pretty much 3 to 4 times a week. Like, I was in a completely different headspace than Amberlynn was or has ever gotten close to since then. And so it really was like I was no longer watching it because I felt a kinship to this person. I was exclusively watching it from that perspective, and coming from the perspective of someone who felt similar to, in a similar sort of rut, to someone who went, wow, I really want to get out of this rut, and getting out of it, but seeing her still just left behind. I mean, it's really sad. It's like, it's just, even today, just sitting and going, you haven't changed. I mean, maybe you have an inkling more of perspective and maturity, but that's being generous.
What would Amberlynn need to do to regain any sense of not just trust in you as like a viewer, but as someone that wants them to do better? Because I think that is kind of what everyone really wants. They want them to be all right.
It is the difference between, there are horrific people out there that make horrifying comments that are just disgusting. Like, and those people should not be given the time of day, the light of day, anything. But coming from a position of perspective and constructive criticism and just disregarding that is, I think, where a lot of the issue is. If I have to hear her say one more time that she's being accountable without understanding what that word means, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I mean, I have a perfectly fine life, so I guess I could just stop watching her. But, like, to me, to get my interest back is, I need her to stop talking about the weight loss, because it's not going to happen. She's going to have to do that by herself and just stop recording it. I know she's never going to do it because she's got feeders and she's got people that actually want to watch it, and I appreciate the concept that, like, she has no other job and she needs to make money. But I would say she needs to stop doing that. She needs to actually listen to her therapist and stop having a therapist that's just a yes person. Therapy's hard. I've had 3 therapists in my life. All of them did things differently. All of them helped me work through different things. None of which was comfortable, but, like, I feel like every time she talks about improving herself, she thinks it's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 months, and that's always her downfall, because even with weight loss, if something doesn't happen in the next 2 to 3 months, she gives up on it and moves on. So, for me, seeing some active improvement in her seeing some active improvement in her mental health, I think would do a lot. And to me, that's hey, I'm back on medication. I understand she's got her health issues, but, like, there are lots of medications to help. But, like, getting properly medicated, actually sitting through therapy sessions that we then don't fucking hear about later because they're her personal therapy sessions, dealing with the fact that she's clearly got abandonment issues, dealing with the fact that she's clearly does not have a healthy relationship with food, and dealing with the fact that she is, for some unknown reason, perfectly okay not being independent in her life. And trying to understand why that's something that she is so open to striving for, but thinks that she's completely independent and by herself.
Do you think these thoughts, as someone who's been around longer, do you think this is a common kind of mental through line a lot of people have that do go from, like, legitimate fans to just, oh, I can just leave her be because she's not improving. Like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people use her for the same way that I did, which was a place to start, a place that felt like where I was. But then I said, well, she's making changes, I need to start making changes. But then I kept up with it. And she left herself behind in the dust. And you know, I'll hear these things on her Q&As with her Snapchats, and I'll hear people that are like, I'm just like you, I have BPD, and people refuse to understand it. And it's like, yeah, that is exactly who she's here for. And I hope in the next 3 months, when you decide to start doing something with your life, you'll realize that you've left her behind in the dust. That's what she's here for, if anything. And she's here to help everybody get started, because she's never going to go anywhere.
And viewing Amberlynn from the rearview window, more so than...
More so. I think, unfortunately, that's where her channel is always going to be. Because unless she genuinely works on these mental health issues of hers, her physical health isn't going to change. And her overall relationship to her audience isn't going to change. Like, I don't disagree that she has some serious mental health traumas that she needs to work through, but it's the fact that she keeps claiming she's worked through some of them, or is at least accountable. That's insanity. That's fucking not true. Like, that is anybody, if she, next time she says that, she's fucking lying. To any one of you that believes that she's not.
Where do you think she's going to be in the next 5 years?
I'm gonna tell you where I hope she is in 5 years. And I'm gonna tell you where I think she'll actually be. I hope she gets fucking smart and realizes where she is currently. And she starts saving every penny and dime that she's got. And goes and buys herself the house next door to her mom. And has no housing fees except to buy groceries. So that in 5 years, when she gets left in the dust, she can actually truly say goodbye to YouTube. Where I think she's actually going to be is, I think she's either never going to leave her apartment, finally find a sugar mama that she's willing to settle with, find a guy that she's willing to settle with, yeah, or just never leave. Or just never leave, and what we see today is what we will see in 5 years.
Because kind of what we're seeing today is what we saw 5 years ago.
That's exactly right.
That's harrowing at the end of the day.
It is harrowing, and that's what happens when you make not being independent a quirky part of your personality. The fact that she can't drive in a place where public transportation is not easily accessible, the fact that going everywhere and doing everything makes her anxious, is a problem. You talk to any actual therapist about social anxiety, me, you get the hard truth where they say, too bad, you need to go. You need to go to the fucking grocery store and buy groceries. You need to go to the fucking doctor. You need to call your doctor and go to your doctor. By the way, Amberlynn, you need to get a fucking focused pediatrician. Like an actual pediatrician that you see once or twice a year. Going to the ER or fucking doctor shopping is part of the problem with your physical and mental health issues. Having a regular pediatrician would have told you you need to go to the gynecologist, or they would have given you a fucking pap smear every 2 years.
Do you mean primary care provider?
That too! God, she's such a child, I can't even figure out which one it needs to be.
I hope she listens. I feel like a lot of people give very good advice or input or like sympathy, but...
She doesn't, though. You and I have been watching the questions of the day, and people will send snaps where they are like, you need to get out of your basement, girl. You need to do some stuff. Like, rah, rah. And they're appeasing to the egotistical self that is Amberlynn. And all she reacts to is how silly of a video that is. She doesn't acknowledge it. She doesn't respond to the topic at hand. She just goes, wow, that was a silly video, and then moves on.
Why do you think people don't believe she had cancer?
Fuck me. I don't know. Look, to all of you that didn't think she had fucking cancer, like, you need to... I'm sorry. I don't like her. Many people don't like her. But, like, cancer is so unfortunately common in today's day and age. I have it in more ways than one in my family history. I have to start getting fucking mammograms at my age, and I'm in my 30s. Like, that's not fun. But, like, that's how you plan for proactive things. And she clearly was having all of the signs where something wasn't right with her body. And also, who gives a shit if she fucking was lying about it? Because you know what? That's on her then. Who does that hurt? Who does that actually hurt except herself? Or she had to go through cancer treatment. She had to get her freaking uterus scooped out. Like, that is pre-harrowing. Like, that's not... I don't understand why people are so insensitive of, like, of nickel and diming every single thing that she does, when it just... One, it doesn't fucking matter, even if she did. It's hurting her more so than it hurts anybody else. And two, like, what if she just didn't? What if she's just an idiot? What if she's just an idiot who decided that bleeding every single fucking day was normal enough to not go to the doctor? What if she believed that? Because that's really what it looks like.
That goes into the idea of delusion. She didn't lie to us, she was just delusional, which I feel like is like lying with a lot of steps. And I feel like if you are in such a state of delirium, you should go to the hospital.
I think she has gotten away with lying because people feel bad for her. Not because she was a good liar and people believed her, but because letting her get away with it made other people feel better. Because this is the poor girl that had to go into the foster system, separated from her family, and had to make it all the way out to 18 at the back end and figure her life out. And, you know, she is one of the hellen fucking lucky ones that she is in a position that she is in after having to go through the foster care system. I will not ever discredit that must have been an awful thing to go through as a child. I'm glad she's rekindled her relationship with her mom, but, like, I think that's where a lot of this comes from, is she must have just grown up in enough foster homes where they felt bad for her, and they just let her lie. Because they're bad lies. They're not good. Amber, you're not a good liar. Like, whoa.
Because that's where I feel like for folks in the early days that were more, I'm going to say maybe more charmed by this young, severely overweight woman just trying to do their best, that had a really bad deck of cards dealt to them early in life, and just trying to be like, yo girl, yeah. And now we're all seeing someone who's turning 35.
It still wants to be 25? Yep.
I still think she wants to be like 19.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Rhinestones are not doing what you think they're doing there, Amber.
it's just kind of the age of it all, and just how, like, you know, I get out of bed wrong and my knee's just gone forever.
Yeah.
And let alone now when you're 500 pounds and have orbited 500 pounds for the past 5 years, outside of 2 very specific instances of weight loss. I just feel like I want her to hear some bells, you know, that isn't just like a panic or a manic episode, and not being ableist, just if it quacks like a duck and is manic like a duck, I'm gonna say it's manic. I just feel like that's an aspect that she has not been able to really ever get her boots in the ground, and I feel like she's just waiting for some other person to fix herself, and you can't fix other people. They have to fix themselves a little bit. Like, you can help them and support them. Like, I think Jaffafi was, like, the most consistent one that wanted them to lose weight.
Absolutely.
And then they got tired of it because they were an adult, not like a child needing help, which you should have patience for because they're children, but not when they're an adult that pays taxes.
I have always had, since I was in fucking middle school, eating issues. They turned into disorders when I was in college because my parents weren't around to keep that under wraps. And then all of a sudden I was out of college, still with these eating disorders, one of which was binge eating, and my health suffered for it. I got to 250 pounds with awful plantar fasciitis, and in the career that I work in, you're on your feet all day long, and that was grueling. And it was enough to tell me I needed to talk to someone about my relationship with food. And one of the things that they told me that has something that I have taken by myself through to the end is you're thinking about food because you're at a heightened state of emotion. And, you know, I have a dog, just like Amber. I have a dog I love. And one of the things that I would do when I was feeling at that heightened point of emotion is before thinking about dinner, we would go on a walk. And by the time we got back from the walk, I was way lower on the emotional scale. And suddenly the need to order an entire pizza for myself wasn't as interesting anymore because I didn't feel that emotional need for it. Was this a day and night thing? Absolutely not. It isn't at all. But it is, I mean, again, she just had a video talking about how her relationship with food is still what it was. That means she has not taken anything that any nutritionist, psychiatrist, or therapist has taught her about her relationship with food and done something with it. 90% of therapy is what you do with it. And she never does anything.
When 2020 occurred, I went to visit a friend out of state, and then I got the very last train back, and then everything was shut down, and my salary was cut, and my rent wasn't, and it was very difficult financially at a given time. So watching Amber just have none of these real problems was very aggravating, really kind of irked me in a way that I couldn't understand. And I know she kept saying she had sympathy for folks that, like, lost their jobs and things like that, but, like, I think with Amber, the sympathy doesn't work the same way because she has just failed upward so successfully. You could not, lightning in a bottle. There is no one else like her. There is no one else that obese with such a messed up childhood that could be at the exact situation she is at currently. Usually you're TLC and you have, like, Tinkerbell or Cookie Monster shades on your walls. Like, it's not, like, good. How did your 2020 compare to hers in terms of, like, things that you had to, like, struggle with, or, like, personal issues, maybe, like, work? Like, was there anything that was really upheaved by 2020 that you noticed didn't touch Amber in any way?
Yeah. I met the love of my life. Unlike Amber, who lost a relationship, 2 relationships, I think, in the pandemic. Keeping that aside, some of you may not know this, construction is an essential work during the whole pandemic. Construction did not stop, except I think in, like, Philadelphia and New York City. One of the jobs I had, I was given a piece of paper by the government that said if someone pulls you over because you're not supposed to be in a car, show this to them that shows you're an essential worker. And that meant we were out and about, we were wearing full ventilation masks, we were cleaning top to bottom every single day. Like, it wasn't great. And I would even say I had the best situation because I'm not in the field every day. So I did get to go home and work from home, and I even called it a luxury because some people got so isolated that I got to leave my home and go to a job site. My world didn't change so much as it just became apparent how life goes on for me. It was a benefit to me. It pushed me to go buy my house. and make sure I had a at-home office, because I didn't know how long this was going to go, but I was going to set up to be as successful as I could, because I did have the fortune where my work was essential, and I didn't have to worry about a pay cut or anything like that. So, admittedly, until you and I met and hung out for a while, I had not watched much of Amberlynn during 2020, because everything about it was the opposite, not only of just where I was within the pandemic, but most of the world.
Which is where I think is so funny how she just keeps on sucking you back in, because in the midst of my own 2020 lockdown, living alone, far away from friends and family, getting a little crazy at a given time, I saw some reaction videos like pop up, and I'm like, oh, this is quite funny. Oh, I like this guy. This is a funny take on it. And then I was like, surely she can't be this bad. Like, a lot of criticism, I can see that. And then I watched some, and then I watched some, and then I watched some, and then I heard some other people's opinions on it, and then I watched some more. And dear God, like, as much as she paints us all as such impressionable morons, like, when she starts saying things like, don't believe what your eyes and ears are, like, seeing and hearing, that is bananas. And then I broached if you've ever seen them before, and the PTSD look you had was, it was like you were back in the trenches.
Say, I was about done forever with her. I had sort of come to the decision that, well, the cycle never ends. I've got other things going on in my life I need to put focus on. But when you brought that up, man, was I just ripped right back. And I did kind of like it, because I got to come from much more of a perspective of almost what a lot of the haters come from now, where they've never watched her as someone they liked, because there had been enough of a separation from the last time I'd watched her to now that I felt like I was coming in from more of an arm's length.
As much as I dislike her, I also don't want, like, bad things to happen to her, but it comes more from, like, a place of pity. Like, I feel bad that this area can't get their shit together. I feel bad that this person is throwing away everything that could help them. Like, I feel bad that this is her life, and I feel like just with 2020 that the aspects that made her very sympathetic, and even a lot of people, I feel like in her fan base, as you mentioned, empathize with her. I feel like 2020, she has far more of a commonality with, like, celebrities that could kind of afford to bypass COVID. They could just get tests whenever they wanted. They could just have someone do their job, not needing to worry about anything. Where, like, I couldn't see my family for a long time. I went 3 months without touching another human. Like, that's really fucked up and hurts, but it's like, that was for everyone's safety. But she was able to bypass that because she didn't have a day job that needed her to do anything. She didn't have responsibilities. Like, you had a piece of paper from the government. You had to go to work, though. You were working. You couldn't just, like, stay in bed like I did and get fat and watch TV.
The pandemic for Amberlynn Reid might as well not have happened. She could have been in her own alternate universe, and we wouldn't have known. We wouldn't have any idea that she was in this dimension, because she was doing the exact same shit she'd been doing in 2019 and 2018, which is sitting there getting to 600 pounds.
Again.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. We watched it happen in 2018 and 2019, and then she just did it again in 2020 and 2021.
As a longtime viewer, longtime watcher, longtime tolerant observer of her existence as a whole, what pattern or cycle is the most interesting for you to watch, like, ingest at a given time?
For me, it is probably the beginning of any 100 days of weigh-ins or new diet or anything like that, because I think it exposes how little she has worked on herself, because it's very easy to do something hard when you have a lot of motivation towards it. It's very hard to keep doing that thing when you don't have motivation towards it, but that's where it requires discipline. And seeing that transition from when she's clearly on a high to when she's transitioning to a low is probably the most consistent and the most entertaining to me, but really just the most telling. Like, it's been 10 years now of the same result. You, Amberlynn Reid, have never chosen to learn what to do when you're not motivated. And that's where your failing is. Everyone, this needs to be your springboard. If you're thinking you're at the same point, or you may be lower than this point, that's okay. Just use it as your stepping stone, because everything that she does not benefit her in her life, and emulating that does not benefit you in yours.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.